everyone, and welcome to Quality Sewing and Vacuums. So fun live today.
Hello.
Hello. We want to give a big shout out to our Pasco customers. Hello, Pasco.
Hi. I'm coming.
Yes, Polly's going to be coming live tomorrow. So in case you're new to So Fun Live, this is a fun presentation where we do in-person demonstrations, and you can see all these beautiful samples here that Donna and Polly have made. They've gone through all of the steps to do this, and they'll teach you how to do it. Now, like I said, if you're new, we have 10 stores in the Seattle area and one in Pasco. And if you haven't joined us live, it is a blast. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely.
In person is so worth it.
It is worth it.
There's always prizes.
Prizes, food,
Lots
camaraderie,
of food.
and my favorite part is the show and tell at the very end. So join us live if you can. You can find those on our website at qualitysewing.com. Okay, so today we have some very special notions and things that you guys have brought in, which is very exciting. So these will only be up on our website for a short amount of time until June 10th. And make sure that when you go in to purchase these things that you put in the code 20 June, like 20 and then spelled June, in the code down below, and you'll get your 20% off discount for today. And with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Donna and Polly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Since we have passed the 21st of June, we are officially in summer. And we've got a whole collection of summer celebration items. And who doesn't love strawberries? This is the strawberry quilt made by Andrea. And she's made this. It's approximately a queen size, Andrea? Queen?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's gorgeous. With the 4-patch strawberries and the flower in the center, those are the only 2 blocks that you have to make. And the flower comes with these cornerstones. And as you inset these into your quilt, you get this kind of reminiscent Irish chain diagonal pattern. She has quilted it here at the Tukwila store, her first time, so she learned on the long arm. And Polly, do you want to show us the batting that she used?
Yes.
She used the Quilter's Dream wool.
Yes. This is a wool batting. This batting will keep you warm in the winter and cool in the summer. So it's great heat, keeping you regulated. And do you know, Donna, what's nice about wool batting? Did you know that it has no memory?
I had not heard that until this morning. So tell us what that means.
So no memory means that it doesn't keep your fold lines. It doesn't remember your fold lines. So if you look at this strawberry runner behind me, it has fold lines because it was folded during packing. If you look at this quilt, strawberry quilt, you'll notice there's no fold lines at all. And this was folded and put in a very small bag, and there's no fold lines because wool has no memory. So if you pack your quilt away for 6 months, bring it out, change to a new quilt, you won't have any fold lines when you change.
I didn't know that. But now I'm excited to actually try this as a batting. And what it does is it gives you so much more texture with your stitch lines because the loft in the wool is quite a bit thicker than the other battings that we've used in the past.
Yep.
Now this is an example of using a dark background. It's a navy blue pin dot. And the little strawberries look so cute on it. And here's the backing that she used. And it's just a really wonderful project. But that pattern doesn't have to be just a quilt. And so Polly's going to show you how she thought outside of the box.
So sticking with our strawberry theme, and if anybody knows me, my favorite color, let me just tell you, is pink. So we started this off, and I made this, and I had a wonderful time making this. I just pulled all my fabrics out of my scraps, had so much fun doing this that now my next project, I am going to do a full-size quilt because this was so easy. It's so much fun. And when I did this, we're going to introduce the Stripology ruler to you here in a minute. But let me tell you, using the Stripology ruler here, I was able, you see these little itty bitty pieces here? I was able to go in with the Stripology ruler and square up this little block here that's 4.5 inches. I was able to square up my blocks, which then makes my rest of my blocks on point. And it makes everything so nice to sew together because it all sews straight. So this is what I've done with my interpretation of the strawberry block versus the big interpretation that Andrea used. I just took a couple of the pieces and put this together. And I had a wonderful time doing it. When I used mine, I used the Dream Green, which I'm going to tell you about the Dream Green. And this is absolutely wonderful. And it is made with all recyclable products. Not products, it's recycled plastic. So this Dream Green packaging right here rescues, is it 7, Donna, or 9 bottles?
On the runner?
No, in this package.
Oh, the throw, I'm not sure. I would need my glasses.
It's 7. Thank you. So this package right here used 7 recycled plastic bottles. So how nice is that? And this is what I'm going to put this down here so you can see the loft of this. Look how thin this is. But if you could feel it, if you could come through the camera and you could feel this, it feels so soft. When I first thought of recycled plastic, I thought it would be hard and kind of chunky, but you don't feel that texture at all. So that's the advantage to going to an in-person sew fun, is you can see and feel everything.
Something that we didn't mention is the wool batting allows you to quilt as far away as 8 inches. The green, 10 inches. A perfect batting if you have a young person who's learning how to quilt and she just wants to do a little stitch in the ditch and her stitching lines are fairly far apart. So that would be also a great batting for a young sewer.
Yes, perfect. And from that, we are going to talk about
the Stripology. You are going to do a Stripology demo squaring up
a block.
Your block.
Okay. Can I just use a piece of this?
Sure.
Because I don't have a block. Oops, sorry. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how I would square up a block. So if you look on this ruler, you see how it has the black lines here, and then I'm going to bring this over, and on this, it's kind of hard to see it on the camera, but I have white lines here. This is actually how I can square up my blocks. So these are going to be 1/2-inch blocks, and these are going to be whole blocks. So I can start with I can start making a 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch, all the way up to 12-inch blocks. And then on the white, I can square up all the way to 12.5-inch blocks when I'm doing this. This is a great tool, and all you do is you're going to take your fabric, and say I wanted to square up this fabric and cut a 4.5-inch block. What I would do is I would set my 4.5-inch block, which I'm going to have extra because I'm going to trim. So I would set it in here, make sure that it's covering all the way around here, And then all I would do is come in and cut up here on the 4.5, and I would come up here on the 16.5, which is my 4.5 inch, or I'm sorry, the 16-inch mark is my 4.5 inch, and I would cut those 2 lines. That is going to give me my straight lines. From there, I would turn my block 90 degrees, and then I would cut again. But I have 2 straight lines to line up on my top and my bottom. And so now I'd be able to go back in and cut 4.5 and 4.5, and now I have just squared up my block. What do you think of that?
I think that's great because you're moving your ruler less than you would if you had to cut all 4 sides and turning the block.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And you know, with this ruler, it has a non-skid back, so the ruler doesn't move when you're cutting. Because you know, when you're cutting, who has a tendency to be holding on to their ruler and you're almost at the very edge of it and your fabric slips just a little bit?
Yep. So I'm going to go and show you a few more features. This is the largest slit ruler on the market, slits up to 20 inches, and the outer perimeter is 22. And you can actually use these outside edges to cut. Now, this is designed by GE Designs, and many of you know that that is Gudrun Erla, and she's got such an incredible mind in terms of time saving and making your job easier. So the secret to the strip cutting that we're going to do is you get your fabric, and I like to, I'm a pre-washer, some people aren't, but you're going to want to press this as flat as possible and get that kind of bolt. As it sits on the bolt, it gets crooked. You want to press that out, match your salvages, and then fold it in half and match the salvage to the fold. Now, I'm going to come around here as we go to the overhead and show you. You're going to lay your fabric down and line up the black line right along that edge. And you can see that she's got numbers along this bottom line in black. And I'm going to put the 0 just a hair inside of that raw edge, because if it's the least bit crooked, I want to straighten it up now. Now I'm going to prepare 2.5 by 4.5 inch blocks this morning. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the 2.5 inch mark, which is marked by the purple arrow.
Here.
And that is also a GE design. The arrows are cut out of this vinyl, and you can put those anywhere you think you're going to need a reminder. Almost all rotary cutters work on this, except for ones where the cover doesn't pull back far enough. And you would think that this Quilter Select would be that, but all you have to do is just flip that switch and it opens the blade fully. The object is getting that blade down into this little teardrop, and the first thing is, and it takes, like Polly said, it takes very little pressure. It really takes the weight off your shoulders, and just a couple of fingers off to the side, and that just cuts like butter, like they say. Now, 2.5 inch marks are a reminder. You have a square that you're going to follow. So every 2.5 inches is a square block. And so I want to do 2 strips at 2.5 inches. And there was just no work at all to create those 2.
Very nice.
Now, to cross cut these, I'm going to put the salvage line those up and do the same thing. Yes, I know I'm supposed to close my blade. I've only cut myself once, but
Knock on wood.
yeah. Here again, you're going to line the black line up to the bottom and have 0 fall right at the selvage. So you're going to get rid of that. 0, 4.5, and 9. And so basically, that quickly you get 16 of those blocks because you've cut 4 layers at a time. Now I can't stress enough that you should have a very, very sharp blade. And that makes the job quick and easy. Go ahead. The other features, like I said, along the bottom here are squares and stars. The 2 most popular cuts are 2.5 inches marked by square, and 1.5 inches are all marked by a star. And Polly, while you're squaring up and the job gets tedious, you might forget what number you're at.
Yes, that's where those stickers, again, come in handy. And you know, when she does this, she gives us different colors. There's 3 colors in the package. There's yellow, there's purple, and there's red. This is called the Fiesta. And so what you can do is you can color coordinate. So if you want for cutting your 2.5 inch strips, you can put that as one color. You can, for squaring up, you can put your yellow strips in as another color and put those down. So if I'm squaring up a 4.5 inch block, I can take my yellow strips and put them down on the mat so I know exactly to hit those on the mat. And these are wonderful to do that. So here I could take, let me just open this up here real quick and watch how this, so I'm going to take my yellow sticker and I'm going to square up at 4.5 inch. So here's my 4.5 inch block. So this line here is right here, so I'd stick that there. Look at that. And then I'm going to square up the other side, and that is my 16 inch line. So now I know on those 2 arrows, I'm going to square my block up hitting those lines.
Over and over.
Over and over for 3 blocks, for 16 blocks, it doesn't matter how many blocks. I used it when I did my Mia quilt, and I had to square up my blocks. And it is fabulous. I can't talk about this ruler enough.
Yes. Some of the other features are the angled lines, which help you cut 45 and 60 degree shapes. You can do half square triangles, diamonds, and parallelograms. And a lot of these tips are on Gudrun's website. And she even gives you a sheet that will help you convert your measurement to a 1/4 inch increments. And it's just a matter of moving the ruler 1/4 of an inch past where you want to be. And then she gives you what numbers to hit to get that 1/4 of an inch. And then finally, the thing that I discovered about it is this works awesome for a table runner. So if you're unsure that your table runner is the same distance apart from the top to the bottom, just find that slit that's going to straighten it up, start in the center, cut one direction, turn it, and then cut the other direction, and your table runner is the same distance apart.
Yep.
So let's talk about the designs in the book. So here
There are so many designs in the book. It's amazing. You get 17 quilts
17
in this pattern. So this is a great book to add to your collection because it's 17 different quilts. And her directions are fabulous to follow.
Plus, each quilt comes in increments of baby through king.
Yes.
So she's done all the calculation for you to increase the size of your
yes.
quilt. My favorite part is the comb binding on the quilt, which allows you to open the quilt and not have it close on you as you're trying to follow the instructions.
Right.
So I think that's just
And you
one
know,
added-
it's the same thing with your, not only your instructions, but when you can fold it, so when you're cutting, because I don't know if you're like me, look, you can just fold it open for your cutting directions, because I can never remember what I want to cut or how many cuts I have to cut with this one versus that one. This is a great book because you can just lay it open, fold it, and all your cutting is all on one page here.
Yep. So let's talk about the individual quilts.
Okay.
This is Winnie, and this is actually on the cover of the book, almost in the same colors. Now, I used the Stripology ruler to cut all my white background, but I didn't need it for the block because these were just layer cakes, 10-inch square layer cakes, a collection that was curated for me. I didn't have to try and match anything. And so all you do is just cut the layer cake in half and then shorten it to 8.5. So 8.5 is the size of the block. And then from my collection of fabrics, I chose coordinating bar strips that intersect in different places.
So are these strips that you used, are they strips from your layer cake, or are they different?
They're different. They're
Okay.
just
Scrap fabrics that you had in your
scrap
collection.
fabrics or fabrics that I picked up here at Quality.
But could you use your cuts from your layer cake?
Yes, that would be a good idea if there were some layer cake designs that coordinated well and weren't too busy. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome.
The white, there's a lot of white background here. And so I chose to use up a portion of my white on white fabric. And I don't know if you watched last month, but we had this great little flashlight, ultraviolet flashlight, which shows you what the patterns look like. You can't even tell that all of these are different white fabrics. And so that helped me reduce that collection by a long ways. I had it quilted with this great circular sort of succulent shape, which goes along with the name of the fabric. It was called Greenhouse Garden. And then finally I just used scraps on the binding, and that helped use up and coordinate with the bars in the middle. And then just 108-inch backing fabric, and it was easy. Well, the hardest part was trying to use the design wall and pick what should sit next to each other.
That's
all.
always the hard part, matching up what should go.
Yeah. So we'll move on over to here. And then this is the second one I did. This was called, I usually have this out, Pippa. And let me show you what inspired me out of the book. Pippa is an elongated tumbler shape, but they're all wonky. They're all different. The series that goes across, there's no shape that's the same. But you'll see it repeated in different rows down the length. Now, the Stripology ruler is great to do this, and she does show you how to do the wonky cuts by using the measurements on the ruler. And here is an example of those wonky cuts with some pins that are labeled with numbers so you know which row you have stacked up. So you're stacking up 6 or 8 fabrics and cutting them at the same time, and then you're going to take that pile and carefully shuffle it so that when you reconstruct it, they all come out in different places. Now, most of the solid-ish color fabrics are from Quality, from different stores that I travel around to. And then the border is from Tukwila, and it is a Kimberbell Basic. It's kind of a navy with a little black overprint on it. And then the prints are just something that I was goofing around with. And we're not going to talk about those today. But anyway, it was fun. It was really fun to use some of my own prints and mix them up with the other blocks that I made. Here's the back. And I have used the green batting, and so nice and lightweight. This started out as a table runner, and probably now it's a bed runner. I quilted it on the diagonal with King Tut, a variegated orange King Tut, and then just used masking tape as my guideline to make sure that I did it as straight as possible. So finished off with a little magic binding, and I had a lot of fun doing that.
Very
So
nice.
Polly's going to talk about her quilt.
So I did the Mia out of the Stripology book, and I used this fabric, all came from Tukwila. They had the whole fabric line, and what was fun with the Mia is there's panels pieces that are incorporated in it. And I had so much fun, and this is where you get really good at squaring up, because the panels you square up to a 7.5-inch block. And then, you know, my good friend Donna here is very good. She likes to organize and lay things out. Guess what? I throw everything down in a bag and I just pull it out one at a time, and that works. So I don't have any pattern to this really, because I just go with it and pull out as I go. But my squares, I tried to do my squares. Let me hold this up so you can see it all the way. This is more just a throw. Actually, so I used a layer cake for doing this, and I had to cut my layer cake into 8.5-inch blocks, and then I cut them again with my Stripology ruler. The nice thing with this is that, again, you can square up as you go, so your blocks all come out to 7.5-inch, then your points line up so nice. And so this is a lot of fun to make. And then I had it quilted with Minky on the back, and this quilting is all barbecue fun related. It's got an apron, it's got a little fish, it's got a little grill here. So that's the quilting on the back of it. But this is so much fun. I can't tell you how wonderful the Stripology ruler is and how nice it is to square up my blocks. It's a game changer. My quilting has gone from a little wonky to being very straight and precise, because my blocks are now squared up to the actual size they should be.
Now, a lot of people ask, when you use Minky on the back, should you put batting in there? And your quilter always does.
Yes, and I have the same, I used what batting did I use?
You used the green. You used the green again.
Thank you. Yes, I used the green, and again, I have the green in here with the Minky, and it quilted up beautiful.
And it's not quite as heavy as if you had used an all cotton.
Right,
So-
exactly. And then for my binding, all as I did was take over, when I cut my 10-inch squares from my layer cake down to 8.5, I just took all those strips and I saved them, and then I took and I added them for my binding. So my binding is just all my leftover scrap fabrics, and it was wonderful. We're easy peasy, being very resourceful.
Yes. We're going to move on now to the garment this month. and it is called the Vivace Dolman. And here you go.
Ta-da! And we're keeping our strawberry theme going on
That's
this
right.
one. And you know what's nice about this pattern? So for those of you that know me, know that garment is not my thing, but I'm working on it. And this was so fun to sew. I did wait till the last minute to do it, but it came together. The patterns are absolutely fabulous. Her directions are step by step. And you know what else, Donna, is nice about her patterns is that she gives you patterns for both woven and for knit.
Yes, if any of you have ever tried to use a pattern from the past and it says woven or knits on the package, it usually doesn't fit you when you make the woven. The knit looks fabulous and the woven is too tight. And so, yes, she's drafted both the woven and the knit, plus you get a woven and a knit front for a standard bust and for a bigger bust. And then the back goes with either pattern. So you get six large format pattern pieces that you need to trace
on Swedish tracing paper. And how many of you have used Swedish tracing paper or even know what it is? Because guess what? I didn't. I do now, and it's my best friend.
It's, I believe, 29 inches wide by 10 yards, and it comes in a roll. And you don't want to cut up these paper patterns because they're heavy stock paper. So find the measurements in the book and then trace out on your Swedish tracing paper. Now, if it's the first time pattern, one thing you can do is you can cut out the full front and the full back and stitch them together at the shoulders, baste the shoulders and baste underneath the arms, and then try this pattern on. This becomes kind of like your muslin. It's very strong and it won't tear. And so you get the opportunity to make sure that the pattern is big enough. Now, it won't tell you how nicely it'll drape because the paper is kind of stiff. And if it's a little bit too big at that point, then you can do some subtracting on the sides, but it's harder to add to the Swedish tracing paper.
But you'll know for your fabric if you need to add or subtract by being able to try on from the Swedish tracing paper, which
Right.
is absolutely a game changer.
And then you just take the basting out, and there you have your pattern pieces.
Voila!
So here on the table is an example of her instructions on how to put the facing in. And I think she's drawn really well designed and easy to understand pictures. And if you know me, I would rather look at a picture than read a description.
Right? Yes. Yes.
So tell us about the one that you made.
So, you know what? This only has 4 pieces. It has a front, a back, my armbands, and then my neckband, or facing. Okay. So, the first thing that I did, this was easy peasy, cutting out my front and back. Then, I wasn't so sure about the neck facing, but the arms, they went together, piece of cake. So then, the facing, it worked. I have a great cheering section out there that is on my side to help me when I call 911 and say, help! They came to my rescue because I couldn't quite figure it out because I waited till the last minute to the last hour. But they came to my rescue, we did it, we got it together, and wonderful. The directions are very explanatory, they're easy to read, and for those that aren't garment makers, garment sewers, this is, I'm a living proof. This is
A good place to start?
That's it. Absolutely perfect. Yes.
Will you make another one?
Yes. And
Put her on the spot.
And it'll still be knit because I like working with the knit because I have a serger and I got a serger to use. And the only time I do it is when I'm making my garments. And so it will be a knit.
Okay, so mine, if you want to swing over to the two mannequins, the brown and orange print is the first one I made, and the print was larger than I anticipated, and so I put the contrasting brown facings and cuffs on it to kind of tone down that large, I don't look, when I order something online, do I pay attention to the ruler that says this is how big the print is? No, I liked it, I ordered it. And it's just plain, and the overlap that I've put on it, I have stitched down. The second, unfortunately, that little wire mannequin, it does not have any shoulders at all. So maybe I should go over and spread this out. So that's what it looks like. When I do a pleat, I do a tiny little stitch along the outer edge and the inner edge, which helps keep that pleat sharp, and then I know where to press it after it comes out of the laundry. The second one I did is this very old, probably fabric from the 90s. It's a faux linen, so it's a lot of polyester, but it has that little slub through it that makes you think that it's linen. And instead of doing the pleat, I just took this much fabric and gathered it before I inserted the yoke. And then finally, this one is a 100% cotton stripe, and the challenge for me was getting those stripes on the facing, but I think I did pretty okay. And on this one, for just a little accent, I did 3 buttons. And that's it. I really like the ability of using one size for the hips and then trimming it down a little bit under the arms. And I love the pattern. And I have the 4th one on the table at home ready to make.
Oh, you're on a roll.
Yeah.
You really like it, huh?
I do.
So I think now we're talking about our stadium bags.
We can, sure.
Did I miss the boat here?
Nope.
Okay, so the first one, this is our pattern that we brought in for our stadium bags. And I am wearing mine. I picked a mushroom fabric, or I guess it's
vinyl.
not fabric, is it? It's vinyl. I picked a mushroom fabric, vinyl that doesn't go with my strawberry print here. So let me set it down here. Sorry. I just did the no, but it's probably better to see that way. So anyways, this was so much fun to make. I love stitching it with the vinyl, and we brought in both the mushroom vinyl and we brought in the By Annie's clear vinyl to make these. And this pattern was so easy to make. What did you think of the pattern?
Yes, it was very easy. My machine was a little fritzy on it, but I did dial it in, and so the advice I got from Andrea was using a jeans needle, either a 90 or 100, and you say, wow, that's a big hole to put in the vinyl. But if you lengthen your stitch length to 3 or 3.5, you're not putting as many holes in. And the thread holds tight, and it did go together then.
Yep,
well.
And I had the same problem, but I just had to switch over to a Teflon foot. And once I switched to the Teflon foot, that vinyl just slid right under there. And I did the same. I upped my stitch length, so I had a longer stitch length. And it sewed so nice and like butter once I did that. And it was wonderful.
We both chose to put the pocket on the outside. Now you can put it on the inside, and the bag then is turned inside out. Now I wanted to have a little bit of extra decoration, so I put this polka dot binding on all the seams. But the rest of it is just scraps of Seahawk fabric. And yours is cute with that accented red.
Right? And then, you know, we brought in for these bags, we brought in the By Annie zippers. We brought them in red, white, and blue because we're staying with our pumpkin summer fun. And, you know, summer is 4th of July. And so how fun is red, white, and blue? So very fitting for these. And these zippers sewed in wonderful. And these zippers are 30-inch zippers that come in. And you know what's nice is they have a double zipper pulls, and they're so nice. So like Donna on hers did just a single zipper pull. On mine, I like to have zippers, so I did the double zipper pull. So you have your choice, and you know you can always add more zipper pulls if you feel the need. But
Yes, you can buy the zipper pull separately. If you do decide to cut this zipper in half, bring one pull down to the other end, and then be sure at the halfway mark, put in a couple of stay stitches and then cut right in between. And that'll keep you from pulling that zipper pull off accidentally. And really, it's not a big deal. You can put the zipper pull back on, but in my experience, it brings on some cussing. Yes, you can use these two for the price of one, or you can use the whole zipper. That is called a purse zipper because that has two pulls on it.
yeah. So that's our zipper bag. Now are we going to...
I have two more.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. You talk about your other ones.
So this is called the My Team bag, and in the illustration, you see that it says Iowa on the top. So you can embroider or put any kind of pre-made letters on there if you want to honor a certain team. I made mine with just some laurel birch fabric and envisioned this more as a project bag. Yes.
Which is great.
Yes, and easy because all I did was just bind the front and the back together. And then here again, I just used one of the red zippers. And then finally, in this picture here is the bum bag. And I really like the size of this with the kind of the gold and green fabric. This was just a fat quarter. I did use the Bosel Inner Foam Plus, which was last month's product. And this is great. It's like Soft and Stable by Annie, only the ladies in my audience tell me it's a little bit thinner, but it has fusible on both sides. So your bag, when you quilt your bag, there's no puckering. It's just flat, straight, easy, in my case, easy line quilting. And I just had a green zipper on hand, and then I have some sparkle green fabric as a lining. And this is the bag I'm going to carry when I go to prom, because this is all glitzy and all gold, well, except for my hardware. Now, I lived through the era where we wore these around our waist.
Yeah.
Not happening.
No.
So I have made it so it will just ride right there.
Perfect.
Okay, now what should we move on to?
Should we go to the book covers?
Yes.
Sometimes you just go with it. So we brought in, because, you know, summertime, what do you do during summer? You go on picnics. So when you go on picnics, you got to cover those bowls up so they don't get bugs in them, so they don't get critters in them, so they don't get sand in them. And we had a great time. We brought in some splash fabric, and everybody knows that splash fabric is waterproof, and it's also BPA, which means that it is, what is it? What's BPA?
Food safe.
Food safe. That's the word I'm looking for, food safe. And so by using the splash, you can cover it on your bowl and your food will be safe.
And our stores have a huge collection of splash fabric. We just brought in the gingham because it spoke to the summer and the 4th of July.
Yes, yes. And so what would you like to talk about on this?
Well, I would like to talk about the fact that I went kind of over the top and thought this would be a good idea to put Odie coat on.
Love me some Odie coat.
Yes, and this maybe is not a good idea to let the Odie coat touch your food, but it certainly does make the bowl cover has much more shape, and it protects the fabric. This is my double-sided watermelon.
Very nice, very nice.
But you can...
So I did the apples, and I used Odie coat on my apples. I did 3 coats, so I did some playing around with the Odie coat, and I did 3 layers, 2 on the front and 2 on the back, or 1 on the back of my fabric. And I let them dry between each layer. And so then, once I had my fabric dry, because I just cut a big strip of it, and I Odie coat, let it dry, Odie coat, let it dry, turn it over, and Odie coat the back. That way, then it's all dry, but you can see that there's a sheen to this. It's shiny. And that's how you know that your Odie coat, you've applied it nice and even to it. And once it's dry, these sew together so nice. It's just almost like working with vinyl, but a little easier than vinyl, working on the vinyl.
2 of the products that we brought in to help you with that casing, can you find, there's the elastic. The 3/8 of an inch elastic and the ballpoint bodkin. The bodkin comes with a large eye at the top. You just thread your elastic through it, and then you put the ball through the casing and feed it around the shape. And it sure beats trying to use a safety pin to drag your elastic through.
Absolutely, because how many of you go to put in your safety pin and are threading that elastic, and halfway through that safety pin pops open?
Yes.
And now you have your elastic here and your safety pin here. So what do? You have to pull it out, start all over. But with that bodkin, you just weed it through, and it works wonderful.
Right. Now, if you choose to just go with the splash, you don't have to do 2 layers. If you choose, you can do 1 layer and make your own bias. So this was a navy blue stripe, and when I cut it on the bias, I got that angled shape. But you can do 2 layers of Christmas fabric with a muslin. And I think this is super cute. When this is all stacked up, Polly has done the wide mouth quart jar cover.
Yes, and these all, again, the splash fabric is BPA, so it keeps it's safe with your food. But wait, I have to just kind of go on this here. So this is a great time once you start making these. This is so fun because if you take and start now, this is the end of June. So if you start now, doing your Odie coat, prepping your fabric, okay, letting it dry, making all of your covers that we've made here, okay? Then at Christmas time, you're going to make your Christmas cookies, and now guess what? You're going to put some saran wrap over the top. Then you're going to take your pretty bowl cover that you just made, and look, you have made your Christmas presents to all your neighbors. How fun is that?
Right. And on this one, it's just a single layer of fabric, and I didn't have to make the bias. I just bought the Wright's double fold extra wide bias. So you can see that attached, and then that was really easy to feed the elastic into.
Yes. So there's so many different sizes. You pick the size of bowl you want to make a cover for. it doesn't matter. And I think that Donna is going to demo for us just a little quick sample here of how she does the sews the circle.
Yes. So I brought in today half a circle so that I will be able to turn this inside out, and you can see how easy that happens with her instructions to clip the seam.
All right, so Donna's going to start here. She's going to
Do
start
you see
sewing.
my glasses over there? That might be a smart
wait,
thing to do.
Which ones? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Okay, 1/2 inch seam allowance is what they ask you to start with. And you can shorten your stitch length because you're going to be actually snipping into this fabric, and you want a little bit more stability in your stitches.
All right, look at that.
Oops.
And it's still going. Here's the scissors.
So, according to the pattern directions, she wants you to cut these wedges all the way around your bowl. And you've left about a 3-inch opening here to turn it inside out. I'm going to give you a little math lesson today and tell you that if this was a concave curve, you could just make snips and it would ease out, and you could flip the other side, like this would be like a facing, and it only needs to have the tension removed by snipping it. This one is a convex curve, and so when you turn it inside out, there's too much fabric in there. And so the solution is to make these little V cuts in your seam allowance. But my suggestion is, and I learned this years ago from one of our educators, Lana, you kind of separate your seam allowances and you start clipping single layer. And the reason you do that is because if you clipped through both and you turned it, you've weakened the fabric right there. Mm-hmm. And you could end up with these little points that aren't smooth.
Oh, well, isn't that spiffy?
So you come back and you pick this spot on the other side and you clip that, and now you have alternated that weakness that could possibly show up in the seam. Now at this point she has you trim this down to 1/4 inch.
Yes.
Don't do that before, because if you're trying to snip 1/4 inch of fabric,
It doesn't work.
so.
Ask me how I know.
The one really cool feature of Splash is when you turn the bowl cover right side out and you want that press really smooth, that is ironable. Mm-hmm. You can put your iron on the Splash and it won't melt or scar it. Mm-hmm. So there is your math lesson for today.
There you go.
Yeah, and
Very nice.
here is a larger example.
Very nice.
So,
Very nice. And you know, for those of you that have, because I know that y'all have eau de coat sitting on your shelf, you go pull your eau de coat out because it's going to be nice, and you start applying some eau de coat to your fabric so it can be drying, so you can make some bowl covers.
or placemats, or
Yep.
tablecloth. I made a raincoat out of it. Some lady told me the other day she puts it on her applique pieces, and that keeps the fraying down along the edges.
You know what else it's good for? to put on the bottom of your bag.
Yes, keep your bags clean.
Yes. Eau de Code is our friend, so there's a good use for it.
Next,
Next.
what says summer more than strawberries? Watermelon.
Flowers and watermelon. Sorry, wrong side. Watermelons.
Okay, so we
can
did
go,
ours a little bit different.
Boop, boop, boop.
Do you want to describe your methodology?
Yes, so this is, let's talk about the pattern. So the pattern that we use to make these, what are these called?
Applique.
No, these are wall hangings.
Oh. Applique wall hanging.
Yes, so, but this is a wonderful pattern, and this is by our good friend that,
Patchabilities.
Patchabilities. And do you know that Patchabilities is in Iowa? Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
She is. So her mom has a quilt store, and that's how she started. She started doing this for her mom's quilt store, and then kept growing, and now she's got her own design line, and here she is, right
And her
here.
designs are so cute.
They are. And so what I did is I used my embroidery machine to do my applique because I don't like to fuss. So first of all, let me backtrack here and tell you, when I cut out my fabric, I do not cut it out piece by piece. I scan the pattern, and that's what's so nice with the Patchabilities, is I could scan my pattern through my scan and cut, and then it will cut my fabric as I'm going. So all of these pieces here are cut with my scan and cut, and then I just took it to an embroidery software, put everything back together, and then took it to my machine, and voila, it sews everything on my embroidery machine because I don't like the fussy cutting. I don't like the pieces. I like the machine just tell me where to put it. Because again, I just grab out of the hat. So this I can just grab out of the machine and it just goes.
I did it the old-fashioned way. I don't have a scan and cut. She provides you full-size templates. There's no increase or decrease on your printer. And she gives you a full-size placement template. And you get the forward-facing design, which is what I used. You probably used the mirror image on the scan and cut. And then Polly did a beautiful job picking out different melon colors and different rind textures. I had the fabric. I didn't get to choose anything. It's just those two fabrics. So to go beyond my design, I added more flowers and more leaves, you know, because I can.
Yeah.
We both had the gingham idea in mind, but mine, the gingham is really dark navy blue and it's real busy. So this is the reverse side of my fabric. So it just lightly gives you that gingham look. It still gave me the lines to follow. And I always quilt my backing before I do the placement. And then I just finished it with a navy blue blanket stitch, which is one of the options on your machine. It's a decorative stitch. And that takes practice. But especially these corners and these tight little curves. But I'm getting better. So,
Practice makes perfect.
that's right. Okay, we need to move on, and we're going to talk about the final product this month, which is the Bird Brain embroidery. This is a machine embroidery that looks like handwork.
It does.
And Bird Brain has just so many wonderful designs. Many of hers are either in all red work,
Yep.
or blue at Christmas time. This is the first time I've seen a mixed color palette. So, Do you want to?
So I can talk about mine. I did a table runner, and I just had a prepackaged table runner, and I just did both ends. And it was fun. I used King Tut fabric. I used King Tut thread. Have you used King Tut thread before, Donna?
I love it because it's digitized for 40 weight. Whoops, there went one.
Yeah, well.
And they used to recommend King Tut, and so that's how I discovered the brand, is that it's nice and gives you that hand.
You know what else is nice about it? Is the way that it's wound on the bobbin. You know, usually when you're working with variegated or metallic thread, you usually have to start at one side and run it through your cup all the way over to this side so it doesn't knot up. King Tut does not do that. You can lay it sideways right on your machine, but it goes with your machine. There's no knotting, there's no nothing. It just flows through the machine. So used King Tut. Brought in some variegated. So check in your quality sewing stores because there's different variegated threads that they have, and they're so fun because we did it like on the baskets. We used variegated threads, and then up here on Donna's, talking about yours, but she did purples up here and the greens because using a variegated thread will give you more depth.
Yes.
On your designs and make the designs really pop then.
It does work really well with a bird brain design because it's not a really dense stitch, and so you're not going to get any striping. Mm-hmm. You're just going to get that kind of natural change in tone that you see in nature. Mm-hmm. So,
and then we brought in the OESD flags, and so these are nice because you can stitch on it and then they slide right onto a flag holder. You can have it outside if you want, or you can hang it, whatever. But look at what Donna did. I love this with a little envelope. So when you go see Donna, look, you can put a little note in her envelope there and leave her a little note that you came by to say hi.
Yeah, because I might not answer the door.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. But how fun is this? You know, and we didn't talk about on our watermelon.
Yep, we
the
forgot.
Watermelon hangers. We didn't talk about those, but we have the watermelon hangers that go with our watermelon applique wall hanging design.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard to get enough metal signs to really show them in a sew fun, and it was great. We have plenty, and it's really worth it to show that with your wall hanging.
Yes, yes, and okay. So you know what else we didn't talk about? We didn't talk these fun little charms, and I have to just talk about them for just a minute.
That's fine.
Because I love charms. So I call them first my zipper charms. I'm all about zippers, and I love to add charms. You can't really see them very good, can you? How about if I hold, there, is that a little bit better? There. Maybe there's not as, there we go. Look at those charms. Who doesn't love that sewing machine? Okay, if you don't love the sewing machine, who doesn't love the camper? Aren't these adorable? So you know what else I learned about these charms, Donna, is that you can put those on zippers, but do you know what else you can do with them?
No.
I'll tell you. So if you put them on your scissors and you drop your scissors, they're not going to go point down. They're going to go on the handle, on the charm. So they will save your scissors. So,
and your feet.
Right?
Yeah.
Because heaven forbid those sharp points, right?
I always sew barefoot. So
yeah, so do I. I think most of us do. So I think we're getting ready to wind up here for our drawings because, you know, that's part of So Fun.
I think so. Did you guys have a lot of fun today?
Yes, I did.
Fun. I was laughing in the back there listening to you guys. You had a great time. So thank you for joining us today. We have 2 prizes today, one from Facebook and one from YouTube. So we really appreciate all of our guests today who have commented, and they were saying how much they said hello to Donna and Polly. So thank you for tuning in. So this is from Facebook, and this is a little pattern. It's called Turning 20 Again. I actually have this one at home. I really like it. This is for Annette DeVries Bozeman.
Oh,
so,
congratulations!
Thank you. So if you could shoot me an email at Andrea at qualitysewing.com. Just let me know if you're local in the area. So tell me what store you'd like me to send it to, or you can give me your address if you're from out of town. Because we've had some people tune in from like Australia and stuff. So please let me know. I will send it to you if you're in Australia. Okay, and this one is from YouTube. I think she's been one of our winners before. It's Deborah Riker.
Woohoo! Congratulations.
Thank you. And this is a little, another cute, it's a little baby quilt. It's called Baby Love, and where you can do fussy cutting and things. So anyways, Deborah and Annette, please shoot me a message at my email, andrea@qualitysewing.com, and I will get these right out to you. So thank you for joining us today. We have really loved you being here. Reminder that all of these will be on sale until July 10th. Somebody told me, they're like, are you sure it's June 10th? Because that was like a couple weeks ago. I'm like, yes. They will be off on the website. Thanks, Chris. Until July 10th, but the coupon code is 20 June for that 20% off discount for all of these items today. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next month for July's virtual Sew Fun.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.